My uncle loved inventors. He must have backed a dozen, and only Clessy was successful. The rest were all disasters. Well, he was one of the most charming people you'll ever meet. He was a genius in the sense of Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and so forth. He said that once told me he'd done the 8th grade more thoroughly than anybody else. He'd done it 3 times. As often happens, when you're the only player in a business, business is not very good. The market for diesel engines exploded when we began to get competition. We concentrated on building an excellent service organization all over the country, and felt that serving the customer in the way he wanted to be served was a key. It still is. And we worked very hard to correct flaws and push the technology. Whatever you do in this world, you've got a responsibility and the privilege of doing it the very best way you can. The best is none too good for any of us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. You are loud and clear. If you would like to switch on the video, we can test the video as well, Mr. Donald.
You see me
Thank
okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
My uncle loved inventors. He must have backed a dozen, and only Clessy was successful. The rest were all disasters. Well, he was one of the most charming people you'll ever meet. He was a genius in the sense of Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and so forth. He said that once told me he'd done the 8th grade more thoroughly than anybody else. He'd done it 3 times. As often happens, when you're the only player in a business is not very good. The market for diesel engines exploded when we began to get competition. We concentrated on building an excellent service organization all over the country, and felt that serving the customer in the way he wanted to be served was a key. It still is. And we worked very hard to correct flaws and push the technology. Whatever you do in this world, you've got a responsibility and the privilege of doing it the very best way you can. The best is none too good for any of us.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Mr. Nasir Munshi, you are audible to me. You can unmute your camera just to test the videos. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible to me, Nasir, sir. You can go ahead.
Sir, thanks. But okay, now. Rose versus. Yeah, the blue is working, but the webcam is not.
You can just click on that and it will pop up a window. You can just say
Webcam
start
is
sharing.
working.
Huh? Yeah. On the Okay, I think I've got it.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
can you see me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. No, they can see it. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm okay, Ajay. Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I'll just stay online till it starts. Yeah. Okay, Ajay. Thanks. Keep your phone around.
Yeah, it's a different email.
Good morning, Mr. Norbert. Just wanted to confirm that your audio is coming in. I'll just mute you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Rajiv, sir, yes, you are clearly audible, sir.
Okay.
And I can see your video as well. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Good. So I'll put it off for you.
Sure, sir. Thank you. We would be starting in 2 minutes from now. Would request all the directors and respected gentlemen who have joined in to switch on their cameras. Would request Mark sir, Chairman sir, to switch on his camera as well. Thank you. Vinaya ma'am, you are on mute. You can unmute and start with the proceedings for the day. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear us okay now?
Yes, no, but you're clearly audible. Thank you.
Okay, so the setup, we're going to choose Mark is going to sit in front of this computer and Donald and I will behind him. So the three of us from Columbus will all be on this computer.
Sure,
And
sir.
then I think we're ready to go then, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the confirmation. In 2 minutes time, you'll see the timer changing and we can start from there. Thank you.
So you have the script? Yep.
Good afternoon, members, directors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mark Levitt, Chairman of the Board, and I express my welcome you to the 59th Annual General Meeting of Cummins India Limited. The meeting is being held through the video conference in accordance with the circulars issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the SEBI. We greatly appreciate and value your interest in the company and want you to know that we are very pleased to have you with us today. In the current scenario, the COVID-19 pandemic has significantly impacted the global economy, operations, people, and communities. I would like to share that even though during the stringent lockdown phases, Cummins has done its best to make people's lives better. Our CRS effort front extensive support has provided the COVID frontline warriors and to the community as a whole. Cummins has always viewed challenges as opportunities and has successfully tackled these head-on with resilience and determination. Cummins has been in existence for over 100 years globally and always emerged stronger, successfully navigating through the downturn. We have always been focused on powering a more prosperous world to be financially stable and sustainability for our stakeholders. I would like to put on the record that I am attending this meeting from Columbus, Indiana, the Cummins corporate office building. The company secretary has confirmed that the requisite quorum is present through video conference to conduct this meeting. The members' participation through video conference is being redacted for the purpose of a quorum as per the circular issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and Section 103 of the Companies Act 2013. With the required quorum being present, I call the meeting to order. Representations under Section 13 and the Companies Act of 2013 has been received by the company, including from the holding company. I now like to introduce my fellow board members, starting from Ashwath. Mr. Ashrath Ram is on the board since August of 2019. He is also the managing director of the company. Prior to his role, he led the engine business unit for Cummins, where his key focus was in business, included strategy, sales, profitability, operations, and supply chain. He is this meeting through the VC from the Cummins IOC. Mr. Nasser Munji is on the board as an independent director and is also the chairperson of the audit committee of the board. He is a renowned economist and expert in the field of finance and infrastructure investment. He is attending this meeting through the VC from Dubai, UAE. Mr. P.S. Dashgupta is on the board as independent director and is also the chairperson of the Stakeholders Relationship Committee and the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee of the board. He is an advocate by profession and has rich experience expertise in mergers and acquisitions, reorganization, and restructuring, and corporate law. He is attending through the VC from Dubai, UAE. Mr. Prakash Talong is on the board as an independent director and is also the chairperson of the Nomination and Remuneration Committee of the board. He possesses expertise in automotive and manufacturing industry. He is attending through the VC from Pune, India. Mr. Ravi Bakshi is on the board as an independent director and is also the chairperson of the Risk Management Committee of the board. He has rich expertise and experience in marketing and supply chain management. He is attending through VC from Delhi, India. Mrs. Rama Bhajakpura is on the board as an additional and independent director of the company. She is a thought leader on market strategy and Indian consumer economy. Rama is also on the board of directors of several Indian blue chip companies, as well as the governing councils of academic and public service institutions. She is attending the meeting through VC from Mumbai, India. Mr. Antonio Leitno is a non-executive director of the company. He is the vice president of Cummins and Europe ABO leader. He brings vast experience in strategy and management. He's attending the meeting through VC from Brest, France. Mr. Norbert Nusser is non-executive director of the company. He is the vice president of Cummins Inc., USA, and president of the power system business. His expertise is in supply chain management, turnaround management, and business process transition. He's also attending this meeting through the VC of Columbus, Indiana. Mr. Donald Jackson is non-executive director of the company. Mr. Donald Jackson is vice president and treasurer for Cummins Inc. and is responsible for corporate treasury function. He is attending this meeting through the VC from Columbus, Indiana, USA. Ms. Lori Meyer is additional and non-executive director of the company. She is responsible for talent management at the global expert enterprise level at Cummins Group. She is attending this meeting through VC of Columbus, Indiana, USA. Mr. Venu Srinivasan, independent director on the board, will not join us for this meeting and has requested a leave of absence. Mr. Ajay Patella is Chief Financial Officer of our company. He is a multi-industry work expertise. He has multi-industry work expertise in the field of finance, spanning more than 25 years across many countries. He is attending the meeting through VC from Cummins IOC in Pune. Ms. Vinaya Josie is the company secretary and compliance officer for the company. She's attending through the VC from the Cummins IOC in Pune. Thank you, everyone. Please note that representatives of the company's statutory auditors, SRBC and Company LLP, Mr. Arvid Sethi and Mr. Khan Diwala, representatives of Stereo Auditor, Mr. Param Shan, and representatives of the cost, AJ Josie, are attending the meeting. Mr. Sanjay Dohar, an internal auditor of the company, has also joined this meeting. I once again welcome you all to the meeting. We are now moving ahead with the proceedings of the meeting. I'm pleased to inform you this year we are celebrating the centennial of Cummins Power Generation. To commemorate, we would like to play a short video.
Chairman, sir. Would request you to kindly unmute and speak, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I now request Naya Josie, Company Secretary of the company, to provide general instructions to all the members regarding participation in this meeting.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Members may note that this AGM is being held through video conference in accordance with the Companies Act 2013 and circulars issued by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and SEBI. The video conference facility is made available to the members on a first-come, first-served basis, and the specifications as per provided in the MCA circular. We have 34 members participating today in this 59th AGM. As this AGM is being held through video conferencing, the provisions for appointment of proxies by the members is not applicable. Hence, the proxy register of members is not available for inspection. The statutory register and such other documents as required under the relevant provisions are made available electronically for inspection by the members during this AGM on the video conference screens. Members seeking to inspect such document can also send their request to the email ID cil.investors@cummins.com. In accordance with the MCA circulars, the annual report for the financial year ended 2019-20, along with the notice of this AGM, has been sent on July 30th, 2020 via email to those shareholders whose email addresses were registered with the company, registrar and transfer agents, and depository participants. The annual report along with the notice of AGM is also available on the website of the company and that of BSE and NSE. The company has received requests from members to register themselves as speakers at the meeting. Accordingly, the floor will be open for those members to ask questions or express their views. It may be noted that the company reserves the right to limit the number of members asking questions, and the questions will be answered in the AGM depending on the availability of time. The moderator will facilitate the session once the chairman opens the floor for question and answers. The members may pose their questions, views, suggestions on the Ask a Question tab provided on the video conference screen during the meeting. The questions will be addressed through appropriate modes by the company in due course. The company had provided remote e-voting facility to the members to cast their votes electronically on all resolutions mentioned in the notice. Members who have not yet cast their votes electronically and who are participating in this meeting can cast their votes during the meeting through e-voting facility provided by KFIN, which is the e-voting service provider. Members can click Vote tab on the video conference screen to cast their votes during AGM post announcement by the chairman. Members are requested to refer to the instructions provided in the AGM notice and appearing on the video conferencing page for an uninterrupted participation in the meeting. In case of any assistance, members may connect for the helpline numbers provided in the AGM notice. Recorded transcript of this AGM will be maintained and will remain in the safe custody of the company. Thank you. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Vinaya. I would also like to inform that all efforts feasible under the circumstances have indeed been made by the company to enable members to participate and vote on the resolutions being considered at today's meeting. I thank all members, colleagues, and on the board and auditors for joining the meeting through video conferencing. I now request Ashwath Ram, Managing Director of the company, to take you through a brief presentation of our company and its performance during the financial year under review.
Ashwath, sir, request you to unmute and speak, sir.
Welcome everyone to the 59th Annual General Meeting for the year 2020. I'm Ashwath Ram, the Managing Director of Cummins India Limited, and I'm really happy to have all of you participate. Next. I'll start off with our story and the reason why we exist. We always start with this, and that's mainly to explain to you why we do all this, why we exist, because of our mission to make people's lives better by powering a more prosperous world what we want to accomplish is our vision, which is innovating for our customers to power their success. And the way we will do it is through our values. And these values have evolved over the 100+ years that we have been in existence. And now distill them to some core values of integrity, diversity and inclusion, caring, excellence, and teamwork. We have a leadership culture of inspiring and encouraging all our employees to achieve their full potential. We have a brand promise of powering our customers through innovation and dependability, and our strategy is to deliver value to all our stakeholders. Next, please. So this year, as you saw in the videos presented earlier, Cummins Power Generation is celebrating its 100th year of being in existence. And last year we celebrated Cummins Inc. Being a company for 100 years. And as many of you will note that not many companies go through this kind of cycle and are able to survive 100 years, go through so many cycles of ups and downs, so many complexities of the nature of doing business, and still survive to continue to do better and grow in all of these difficult circumstances. You would have seen in the video that the power generation business was founded by Mr. D.W. Onan in 1920, and Cummins acquired this business in 92 and then integrated it into the overall power generation business. Next, please. So 2020, despite us knowing that 2020 would be a tough year, global markets were all beginning to start to correct. This has still been a historic year for Cummins Inc. For example, Cummins put out its Planet 2020, which is its new environmental strategy, which uses science and data-based methods by which we can beat the commitments made in the Paris Agreement in the United Nations. Our leadership globally has now reached a gender representation of 50%, which means we now are top leadership globally has 50% women as part of its group, and that's a really proud achievement for us as a company. In our corporate responsibility activities, Cummins Powers Women, which is one of our big initiatives, impacted the lives of more than 100,000 women to promote equality as well as to promote the upliftment of women in different areas. We continue to invest very strongly into our business. We invested about $1 billion in R&D and engineering to continue to be the market leaders in our field. And we also achieved record profitability as a global company. Next. Next, please. So as all of you probably realize that nobody planned for or the impact of COVID on the world is significant. Over 230 lakh people are already impacted. They are affected. 30 lakh plus people are now impacted in India, and in our own headquarters city in Pune, it is the epicenter of COVID as far as India is concerned. So there is every part of our business in some way is impacted by COVID. This is the worst disruption the globe has ever witnessed as far as these kinds of epidemics are concerned. And the state we are in also is has the single largest number of COVID cases. But what I can tell you is that Cummins has a plan, and Cummins has been implementing this plan around 200 countries around the world, and we are coming out of this in a very strong and successful manner. Next. So As you can see, the impact of COVID has had a direct impact on our business as well. And 2020 has slowed down as compared to 2019. It has impacted not only sales. We had record sales in 2019, and 2020 is likely to be a much slower year. And similarly, our profit has also been impacted, but not impacted to the extent where in the past, where we've had similar such crises, where how business has got impacted. This time it's not that way. The company has taken a lot of measures, done a lot of planning, done a lot of activities to control everything which is in our control to be able to come out of this epidemic strongly. Next, please. As far as the Indian economy is concerned, you can see that it had begun to slow down, and COVID has just made the situation even worse. Our GDP, as you can see, for the last 4 or 5 quarters had already begun to slow down, and now many economists are saying that this year we will have negative growth as far as GDP is concerned, and it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for the market to recover and come back to the levels we have been used to, or come back to double-digit growth of our GDP, which is what the aspiration of many of the leaders in our country are. It's going to take some time, and one can't predict exactly how much time, but it's going to be longer than what people originally thought, because the pandemic is not just going away. Earlier, people had estimated that things would all get back to normal and everything would be normal in the June-July time frame. And as you can see, the cases continue to increase, and so there is lack of clarity on when how much time we will take to come out of this kind of situation. Next, please. While the government is doing a lot to come out of this situation, they have announced many plans to improve liquidity. They have changed the taxation structure. They have announced moratoriums to allow people to pay the banks back, give them more time to recover. While all of that has been happening, Cummins has been working really hard to come out of this pandemic in a strong manner. We continue during the pandemic to live our brand promise of dependability. Some of the photographs you see here are our folks out in the field supporting customers, even when the entire country was in lockdown for nearly 2 months. Our people were out in the field supporting customers, making sure that gensets are up and running, making sure that critical equipment, hospitals, all critical applications for mining, so many other critical applications which continue to run during this period were all supported by our team, living up to our brand promise. And after the business has been unlock has started, we have followed some of the best practices in the world to ensure that our employees return back to our plants in a safe manner, and have gradually restarted our operation to a point where now I would say 70 to 80% of our plants are all our plants are up and running to utilize capacity to about 70 to 80% of what they're capable of. And Cummins has introduced a COVID-19 safe work playbook based on our experience from around the world. And this has been shared with not only internally within Cummins, but Cummins has also shared it with CII, SIAM, and many other organizations to ensure that this data we have gathered from around the world and these safe practices that we have set up can be used by other companies to also recover. Next. So Cummins has been doing quite a bit of work to support the community during this pandemic, to to make sure that people's lives continue to be better, even when things are all shut down. So our impact till date, we've spent about 3.5 crore rupees on COVID. We've been donating N95 masks. Cummins formed a global alignment with a leading mask manufacturer, 3M, and is using Cummins' own filtration technology to set up and manufacture our own N95 plus masks. And we've already set up a machine to do that in India, and very soon we will be able to meet not only our needs, but will be able to support our communities and our suppliers and many other people with masks that Cummins ourselves manufactures. So we've been donating kits, we've been donating food, we've been doing a whole lot of work, and we've done it not only by ourselves but also in partnership with the Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, with CII, with SIAM, and so many other organizations. So I feel really proud of the kind of work that Cummins people are doing in helping us get out of this pandemic. Next. So our top 3 priorities as we come back or as we are working through this pandemic, the first, of course, has been the health and safety of our employees. We are doing and we will continue to do everything possible to ensure that our people are safe. As a matter of fact, our practices have been recognized so well by the government of Maharashtra and especially the local municipal corporation in Pune, that despite many other companies being under more severe restrictions, we have got approvals to go up to 100% of our capacities based on what they saw as Cummins following some of the best practices in the world to ensure the safety of our people. We continue to serve our customers. We continue to serve them when everything was down, and we will continue to serve them as we ramp up and as we gear up to serve them even better than what we were able to do during the lockdown period. And it's important that this is a 100-year-old company, and in India we've been here nearly 60 years. So the survival of the company and ensuring that the company stays healthy and strong so that it can live to fight another day and come out stronger is really, really important. So it's important that the company and we do everything possible to ensure the company remains strong, and that's been our focus as we start to ramp back up. Next, please. Next, please. So Cummins India in the last year has been extremely busy. We have been launching a whole bunch of new products. We've launched the 40 kVA gensets. We launched new K19 engines, which we launched entire what is called RoHS compliant low kVA products. These give us the ability to export to many markets, especially in Europe. Executed the first ever order of the QSK 95, which is 3000 horsepower genset, and we are getting more orders over there. So we've been making many product breakthroughs, and you can see some photographs depicting some of those products as well as some of the product launches. As far as service is concerned, if you remember, we've just been recovering from the cyclone which hit the southern part of India, and Cummins played a very key role in ensuring power was restored with a whole bunch of manufacturing. A lot of people were supported. So we played an amazing role in helping people get back their lives to normal. Our NPS score at 84.86%. Is a 3% improvement in last year, and this I can tell you is the best NPS score in the world that our service and support system gets anywhere. And these kinds of numbers are unheard of. We ourselves as Cummins could not imagine that we could reach these kinds of numbers, and the battle or the journey doesn't end here. We will continue to work on ensuring and making sure that our customers stay satisfied with the kind of work we do. As far as the community is concerned, Cummins ranked 50th out of the top 100 companies listed by Futurescape, and Cummins College of Engineering for Women completed 25 years with 9,500 plus students having graduated till date, and we celebrated that, and it was a very proud moment for all of us here at. Next, please. So let's get to how we have performed. So if you look at our revenue, 2019-20, we had sales of 5,062 crores. We had profit of 799 crores. We generated nearly 600 crores of cash from operations. And as per our dividend policy, we continue to be a high dividend paying company by paying 700% dividend. Next. If you look at our revenue trend, despite this being a very cyclical and a tough market in the last couple of years, we continue to grow our revenue. We have very strong plans in place to come out of this COVID situation in a very strong manner. We have a good strategy. We are in place, and we are implementing that, and we have some strong plans to try to recover out of this and continue our historical trend of growing this business. Next, please. As far as profit is concerned, as you can see, based on the power generation market mainly going into a softer cycle, which you can see from the GDP charts I showed you earlier, that some of our markets are already going into a softening cycle, and the COVID impact of not being able to ship much by the middle of March also had a certain bit of impact on us, and we ended the year having a lower profit number of about 15.9% or 799 crores this year. And the teams are working really, really hard to try to come up with plans to recover, go back to our historical rates of profit and bounce back from this situation. Next, please. If you look at our domestic versus exports trend, it maintained pretty similar kind of trend, with 70% being from the domestic market and 30% being from the export market. And we continue to focus. India plays a very important role in the global supply chain, and we continue to be a major supplier to both customers and our plants around the world, and these trends will continue to improve year on year. Next, please. As we go into segment-wise revenue, you can see that the industrial business, despite so many challenges, continued to keep growing, and this was driven mainly by very, very strong contribution from the rail industry, where Cummins has some amazing products and some good share, and that was a primary driver. That a little bit of mining and compressor, those were the three segments which really helped us have growth in this tough year. Power generation, as we mentioned, has started to see a softening cycle. It as most of our segments are cyclical markets. We hit the peak of revenue in 2019, and we are starting to see that market soften, and the COVID situation is going to cause this to soften even further. Distribution, though, continued to keep growing, and we continue to have pretty strong sales despite some setbacks in the month of March, where we could not do a complete month of shipment. So that business continues to grow strongly, and that business also is the one which will probably recover the fastest from the COVID situation. Next, please. So if you look at exports revenues, you can see that in this financial year, the exports markets started correcting even before the impact of COVID, and we had much weaker high horsepower growth. Spare parts also shrunk a little bit, as did the LHP exports. And our teams, Cummins India remains a major supplier to most of these markets, and the teams are working really hard to try to recover from the situation and bring back strong growth for the future. Next, please. We continued with our dividend trend. We distributed 700% dividend, last year being an exception. So as we were celebrating our 100th year, we had a special additional dividend, but we continued with our dividend policy of 700% dividend, which resulted in roughly 68% payout for the shareholders. Next, please. So what I showed you earlier was the kind of corporate responsibility work that we did during the COVID period, but we did some amazing work during the rest of the year as well. 83% of our employees completed a minimum of 4 hours of corporate responsibility work. 45,000 plus hours were utilized in corporate responsibility projects, and a huge number of projects were completed in the big areas that Cummins focuses on, which are projects like monsoon resilient Maharashtra, where 33,000 kiloliters of water were conserved across 24 arid and dry villages. New technical education sites were set up. Out of the corporate responsibility awards that Cummins awards to its plants, India has secured 3 out of those awards, and they were for the Ugdam project, where women are manufacturing sanitary pads through this project. The Cummins Powers Women project was kicked off, and 22 NGO leaders participated in this project. We continue to support 24 model villages in partnership with NABARD. So many more projects. We are a big part of the Clean Air Delhi program, which was recognized by CII and SIAM. And if you go to the CII site, you will see all the work we have done over there. So huge number of projects continue to be sponsored by Cummins, and this will continue out into the future as well. Next, please. Next. So this is a chart which looks at the last 20 years. And as you can see, Cummins business is a cyclical business. But when you look at this data, you can see that out of every deep recession, every bad cycle that we go through, we come out stronger and better as a company. And that's what the 100 years of experience means to us. And that's why we have the confidence that we will come out of this cycle better and stronger than we were earlier, and use this opportunity to become better and stronger than competition and other companies who compete with us in the marketplace. Next. CIL has a very strong growth strategy. It is built on a core of our historical businesses of power generation, our industrial business, our distribution business, and our exports business. Everything is built on a foundation of cost improvement, on supply chain excellence, on quality enhancement. We have some amazing capabilities in the areas of technology, scale. We are the largest independent diesel engine manufacturer in the world. We have an amazing distribution network, the most dense distribution network to support the products that we manufacture. And we have partnership with some of the most amazing customers and suppliers in the world. The who's who of customers in the world work with Cummins and buy products from Cummins. And what are we doing? What are our growth? How do you think, how will we grow? So the core of that is we continue to focus on market share growth. We continue to focus on content, which means as the technology becomes more sophisticated, we have more and more that we are adding on into our products. To give you an example, as engines go from mechanical to electronic engines, they also need emission systems, which Cummins manufactures. So not only do we add more products, the products become more expensive. So we are adding content all across, and we are introducing many new products. We are also focused on a lot of new areas, new aligned areas, which Cummins is investing in very heavily. As you saw earlier, that Cummins continues to invest at the rate of $1 billion a year into new products, new technology, engineering, acquisitions, etc. And we are investing heavily in areas of telematics, electrification, renewables, alternate fuels, and advanced analytics. Next. We have an amazing and experienced leadership team, and we have Anjali, who has been with the company for nearly 20 years and leads our engine and components business. We have Mandar Dev, who is a PhD in mechanical engineering and who has been with the company for over 15 years and is now in India for over 5 years. We have Shweta, who leads our distribution business. We have Soumya, who leads our supply chain. We have Aditi, who leads our quality and manufacturing. We have Mr. Batra, who has been our former CFO for nearly 16 years and who is now leading some of our special projects business. We have Ajay Patil, who's joined us as the CFO this financial year and who brings us over 25 years of experience in many leading multinationals around the world. We have Bala Nagarajan, who has over 20 plus years of working with Cummins and who's our Chief Administrative Officer. We have Ram Otikuti, who has over 35 years in engineering and who's our Chief Technical Officer. We have Anupama, again, who has close to 20 years of experience working with Cummins and leads our HR. And Anubhav, again, brings over 20 years of legal and secretarial experience as head of the legal function. So we have a great, strong team, and we are very confident that we can come out of this crisis in a strong manner. And as you can see from this slide, that we also are at close to 50% gender representation in India as well, and we aim to do even better than what we are doing around the world. Next, please. So what are we doing to win in this downturn? We continue to invest strongly in technologies and launching new products in existing markets. We are introducing better products and fighting harder to gain market share and win more OEMs. We are exploring new strategies for organic as well as inorganic growth in the business. We are working very, very closely with the government to be part of the key roadmap to improve energy and infrastructure of the country and introduce many of the new technology products that our company is working on. And we are leveraging all the investments we have made in India over the last 50 plus years, leveraging our infrastructure, leveraging our investment, and leveraging our people to grow the business. So that gives us a lot of confidence that we will come out of this cycle strong and continue to maintain leadership in this business. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to Mark, please.
Thank you, Ashwath. As the notice convening this meeting is already circulated to all members, I now take the same as read. The statutory auditors, SRBC, and Company LLP, and the secretarial auditors, Ramad Shah and Associates, have expressed unqualified opinion in their respective audit reports for fiscal year 2019-20. There are no qualifications, observations, or adverse comments on the financial statements or matters which have financial bearing on the company. The statutory auditor's report on a standalone and consolidated financial statement are available on page number 99 and 172 of the annual report. Secretarial audit report is enclosed in appendix 11 on page number 91 of the annual report. With your permission, I take the auditor's report as read. The audited accounts for the year ended March 31, 2020 are part of the annual report and already have been sent to you. Before we further proceed, I would like to bring your notice that the company has provided remote e-voting facility to cast votes electronically to all resolutions mentioned in the AMG notice in accordance with the Companies Act 2013. Remote e-voting facility is kept open for the period of 3 days from Saturday, August 22nd, 2020, 9 a.m. Indian Standard Time, and ending Monday, August 24th, 2020, 5 p.m. Members may note that there will be no voting by way of showing hands. We'll also take up resolutions as mentioned in the notice. We shall begin with a question and answer session after all resolutions are tabled. Item number 1, to receive and consider and adopt the audited standalone financial statements of the company for the financial year ended March 31, 2020, the reports of the Board of Directors and the auditors thereon. Item number 2, to consider and adopt the audited consolidated financial statements of the company for financial year ended March 31, 2020, and the report of the auditors thereon. Item number 3, to declare a final dividend on equity shares for the financial year ended March 31, 2020, and confirm the payment of interim dividends for financial year 2019-2020. Item number 4, to appoint a director in place of Antonio Latino, who retires by rotation and is being eligible, offers himself for reappointment. Item number 5, to appoint Mr. Ashrath Ram as director and approve his appointment as managing director of the company. Item number 6, to appoint Ms. Lorraine Allen Meyer as director. Item number 7, to appoint Ms. Ram Jaipur Kumar as a non-executive independent director. Item number 8, to ratify remuneration payable to the cost auditor, AJ Joshi and Associates, for the financial year 2020-21. Item 9, to approve the material related party transactions with Cummins Limited UK. Item 10, to approve the material related party transactions with Tata Cummins Private Limited. The text of the resolution pertaining to items number 5 to 10 are, along with the explanatory statements under Section 102 of the Companies Act 2013, is provided and circulated to the members. Members who have not cast their vote electronically through remote e-voting can cast their votes now onwards by clicking on the Vote tab on the video conference screen. Members may also note that a dedicated voting session of 15 minutes will also be provided after closing speech by the chairman in this meeting. The board has appointed Mr. Ram Kumar Lada, Secretary in Practice, as a scrutinizer to supervise the e-voting process and scrutinize the votes cast through the remote e-voting and e-voting facility provided at the meeting. The results of the e-voting will be declared on receipt of the scrutinized report and placed on the company's website, and the same will be sent to the stock exchanges. We now open the floor for questions from speakers who have pre-registered themselves asking questions at the meeting. Before proceeding with the questions, I'd like to ask Ms. Vinaya Joshi to brief the members on the question and answer session.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone again. Please take a note of below points while asking the question. Kindly turn on your video and unmute your audio to ask your question when you are projected on the VC screen. Mention your name, folio number, and location from where you're participating. Each member will have approximately 2.5 to 3 minutes to ask questions or express views or suggestions. The questions will be responded after all the speakers have raised their questions. Speakers are requested to keep their questions brief and specific. Considering the availability of time, the company may limit the number of members asking questions. Once you have asked your questions, you may turn off your video and continue to watch the proceedings of the meeting. The moderator will facilitate the question answer session. I now request the moderator to take up the questions of the members in the queue. Moderator, over to you.
Thank you. I would now request the speakers whose name I'm going to announce to kindly unmute the audio, switch on the video, and then proceed to ask their questions as per instructions provided by the company secretary. Our first speaker for the day is Mr. Babu Bhai N. Mehta from Mumbai. Mr. Babu Bhai N. Mehta from Mumbai, I would request you to kindly unmute the audio, switch on the video, and speak, please. Mr. Babu Bhai N. Mehta. We haven't received any feedback from Mr. Babu Bhai, so we'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Anil Babu Bhai Mehta from Mumbai. Mr. Anil Babu Bhai Mehta from Mumbai, would you kindly unmute your audio, switch on the video and speak? I haven't received any inputs from Mr. Anil Babu Bhai Mehta. We'll move on to our next speaker, Jyoti Shanghai from Calcutta. Ms. Jyoti Shanghai from Calcutta, kindly unmute your audio, switch on the video and speak.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. Kindly proceed.
Yeah. I am Jyoti Shanghai from Millennium M, Kolkata. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Kindly proceed with your question, please.
Yeah. Do I need to tell my DP number also?
Madam, if it is your wish, you can speak so.
Okay, my DP number is 1206800000096. And my question is, respected sir, the company has all resources and fundamentals also appears good. But despite this, the EBITDA margin of the company is on a decline trend. What plans do you have to improve the operating efficiency of the company after one more challenge of a long lockdown of COVID-19? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Aspi Baman Shah from Mumbai. Kindly unmute the audio, switch on the video and speak. Mr. Aspi Baman Shah from Mumbai.
Yeah, Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Kindly proceed with your question, sir.
And see me also? Or not yet?
You haven't switched on your video, sir?
I will start it. Okay, can you see me still?
Yes, sir. We can see you, sir.
Chairman, sir, directors and shareholders. Sir, I'm speaking from Bombay. Sir, at the outset, I welcome Mr. Ajay Patil, our CFO. And I'm sure he'll take care of our accounting requirements. In the first quarter, top line is less than half quarter on quarter and almost 36% of last year's first quarter. So net profit has also reduced to 1/3 year on year. So what steps the management is taking to improve the profitability? This is almost the same question asked by my predecessor. So do you make diesel engines for 2 and 4 wheelers? Or also you make this electric vehicle, anything to do with electric vehicles? What is the difference between mechanical and electronic engines? So what was the order book on 30 June and what is the order book now? And how much of those orders will be completed in second and third quarters? So is Cummins catering to metros and monorails also in addition to railways? And sir, what is the roadmap for the next 2 years? Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. I would now request our next speaker, Vasudha Vikas Dakwe from Mumbai, to kindly unmute the audio, switch on the video and speak. Vasudha Vikas from Mumbai.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Good evening to respected chairman, sir, board of directors and my fellow shareholders. Vasudha Dakwe from Thane. First of all, I congratulate the company secretary and his team for sending the soft copy of the report well in advance, which indicates the clear picture of the company. I would also like to congratulate the CSR committee who has performed their duties very well. I want to ask, when was the last bonus was given? And when next bonus will be declared? Secondly, please throw some lights on our R&D expenditures, which is comparatively high to last year. With this, I support all the resolution and wish the company all the best for coming years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal from Mumbai. Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal from Mumbai, kindly unmute your audio, switch on the video and speak. I haven't received any feedback from Mr. Vinod. I will now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Shashikant G. Marathe from Pune. Mr. Shashikant G. Marathe from Pune, kindly unmute the audio.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Would you like to switch on your video as well, sir?
Yeah, I am Shashikant Marathe. I am from Pune, my residence. Good afternoon to our chairman, managing director, and all those who have joined this conference via video. We welcome our new MD who had invested in our shares, and therefore we have confidence in him that he will ensure even better and 20 is a memorable being Cummins in centennial anniversary, coupled with more adversities. It is creditable to get 83% participation and also for generation of 141 crores due to optimization. Globally, what is our participation level? Aim at 90% by 2020 because they have increased 3% in last few years. Convey our appreciation to all those who enabled the company to get various awards, recognitions on human building, consumer engagement, sustainability, CSR, and on top of it, Golden Peacock. Recognize the contributors and persuade others to follow. We had good cash flow and the top line was benefited due to considerable of contribution by the new to United States subsidiaries. Both these entities should boost our export in the years to come. In spite of a reduction year on year on the top line, profit before tax, EPS, you propose 700% dividend. Thank you for having shareholder friendly attitude. How many mandates we lost in 1920 and up to first fortnight of August 20. Besides 3,447 employees as of August March 2020, how many contracted for 2020 and in first quarter of 2021. So we did not ignore them and look after them as our valued asset. Spell out your plan for recovery of lost orders as well as mandates. The VRS results in trimming of fab and ensures productive workforce. I recall our previous management when faced with rupee depreciation. It did not lay off any employee. The then CEO reduced his pay along with managerial staff and workers at reduced fairness allowance. They were likely rewarded with gold chain on restoration of business in spite of objections from Pune University. When said management installed CNC machine, they gave the old heads to the employees at discounted price with assured orders for shares on their own separation for starting new business. A win-win situation. We should innovate and build trust of our employees. Convey our appreciation to outgoing directors for their contribution for progress of the company. This year, particularly, their number is more. We must be ethical as our disputed unpaid statutory use list runs into 2 pages. Try to trim it judicially. Hope with introduction of GST, there will be less cases in the years to come. Also ensure that unpaid dividend is paid and CS must explore innovative ideas to locate this. I recollect a company which, after advertising, sent its representatives at service agencies who cater only for higher horsepower engine. With the central government's thrust on agriculture, infra, fisheries, easy working capital availability to SMEs, coupled with good monsoon, we must explore these opportunities and achieve reasonable growth on all financial parameters. Wish you all good luck and to turn better results hereinafter. Thank you very much for allowing me to give a chance.
Thank you, sir. I would now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Dipankar Purkashta from Delhi. To unmute the audio, switch on the video and speak, Mr. Dipankar.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Would you be kind enough to switch on the video as well, sir?
Yeah, I've done that.
So you can speak with your question. We will get the video once we speak.
Yeah. So, good afternoon. I have questions on both the audited accounts as also on the business. So I'll take up the accounts part first. See, the company holds investment properties with a book value of 1,037 crores, which compares with the book value of 1,197 crores of its own property, plant and equipment. It's very unusual for a manufacturing company to have an investment property book almost the same size as its own manufacturing assets. And if I look at the market value, then the market value is even more, which is 1,216 crores. On this huge asset, we earn a pre-tax yield of 2.5% if I look at the market value, and if I take the book value, the yield is 3%. So my question is, why do we keep these idle assets on our books? Why can't these be monetized and transferred out to the people who are using it? After all, shareholders have invested in a engine business, not in a real estate management company. So I would request the company to examine the feasibility of monetizing these assets and transferring it to the current users. And if there are problems with the tax efficient ways of doing this, then you'll have to sit with your lawyers and see how this can be done best. My second question on the auditors is, in the auditor's report, it has been stated that 46 crores is the amount due as receivable from customers in certain geographies where the central bank has restricted remittances in US dollars. So first of all, which are these countries where these restrictions are enforced? Has this amount since been recovered as on date? And what does the company do to mitigate these risks? In the first place, why do we sell to such countries? I would just like to know. and what are the steps which we take to mitigate these risks? Now, coming to the business as such, not the audited accounts, the MD and CEO in his presentation had given the CAGR for the last 4 years as 2.5%. But if you even go back to 10 years, the CAGR remains at 2.5%. I am talking about the consolidated revenues. From FY11 to FY20, CAGR is 2.5%. If I factor in inflation, it's actually negative growth. In real terms, we are degrowing year on year. And 10 years, I think, is a sufficiently long period to overcome the cyclicality to which the MD had referred. So does this lack of growth indicate that the diesel engine business is shrinking, or has the company been losing market share over the years? If you could clarify that. And also, for the sake of comparison, what has been the equivalent CAGR during this 10-year period in Tata Cummins and Cummins Technologies India Private Limited? In the MD's presentation, if you had seen, he had given only the export figures. The low horsepower gensets have been showing a consistently declining trend. And this also conforms with the perception in the market that Cummins low horsepower gensets are not competitive price-wise. So is Cummins looking at exiting the low horsepower engine business, or does it still intend to continue with this shrinking business? There is a lot of things mentioned in the annual report about new engine technologies like fuel cells, energy storage technologies, etc. So the question here is, when these investments do happen in India, will they happen in Cummins India, or will they happen in Cummins Technologies India Private Limited? And finally, if you can give us a brief update on the current status of the implementation of BS4 emission norms for wheel construction equipment and also for the non-wheel CEM. I think that's all. And thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you. I would now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Dinesh Amritlal from Mumbai. Kindly unmute your audio, switch on the video and speak, please. Mr. Dinesh Amritlal from Mumbai. I haven't received any feedback from Mr. Dinesh. Yes, Mr. Dinesh, we can hear you.
Can you hear me, sir? Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to all. Can you hear me? Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible. If you'd
Sir,
like to...
can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah. Sir. Yeah, sir. First of all, let me congratulate for, the intensity with which you are continuing the company. 100 years over for the parent company, and we are in the 59th year. 60 years is a long journey. And we have moved from old Pune registered office, our company, to our brand new factory. So first of all, I would congratulate you for all the effort that is going on to keep our company vibrating in vibration and in good mood. Secondly, sir, opportunities which other speakers have said, that which we have lost in the last 2, 3, 5 years, the market cap and the declining ratios and all that. But I think some new innovation should be introduced from the parent company so that we can also capture the same market share once again. And the strength of our R&D team must be tested for new innovations now. This is high time, sir. Again, sir, I would like to know what are the de-learnings and the re-learnings that you have done during the COVID, which will help us to, show better performance year after year. Lessons learned from COVID, I would like to know. And sir, I would also like to know, basically now, I mean, since even in the first quarter, as somebody has already said, SPA said that our sales are down. But I understand that for the first 2 months, we were not working. So the first quarter results show only 1 month's working, if I'm right. And if that is the case, then we are at par with our yearly working, because yearly working shows me a 50 crores turnover every month. And this month also we have made a turnover of 52 crores for the first quarter. If we remove the first 2 months of zero working, that means this is the working only for June. Am I right, sir? Please rectify if I'm wrong. Sir, again, I would like to know the power gen business, the commercial buildings, hotels, hospitals, IT offices, data centers, indiscriminable subsegments. I mean, how do you see the traction now after June? I mean, June, July, August. I mean, this last 2 months experience. Can you share about the traction of the orders that we have got in this power gen section? You have got a JV subsidiary, Volvo line. I mean, I would like to know some good, I mean, some performance about it. What is happening there? I mean, are we going to increase our share of capex? I mean, capital expenditure there. I would like to know that. Sir, again, I mean, what about the capex? Any capex which have been deferred now? And how do you get the base business back under control? Major steps, major operative steps, basically, not simple steps, but basically operation steps. Any major shift that you are going to undertake? Lastly, sir, congratulate you for all the cost improvement that you have done in this COVID period, and the technological scale up. If you can discuss it a little bit more, along with the distribution network. I mean, how is the distribution network? Are we closing down some distribution network? Are we adding some distribution to tier 3 cities? I mean, can you give a little more landscape about it, sir, so that we can understand the business metrics now better? Thank you very much, sir, and wish you all the best. We are shareholders of Cummins, and we will remain shareholders of Cummins. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh sir. I would request you to have a glass of water, as you seem to be out of breath. I would now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Hutokshi Sam Patel, who has not joined in. So I would request the chairman, sir, to give me the permission to go back to Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal, who has joined back. Can I have Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal unmute his audio, switch on the video, and speak? Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal. I have not received any feedback from Mr. Vinod Motilal Agarwal from Mumbai. So I would now close the Q&A session, as all the registered speakers, shareholders, have contributed to the questions that they wanted to ask. I would now hand it back to the chairman, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all the questions and suggestions and points of appreciation. Before we begin the answer session, I request to play a video on our company and the initiatives taken to empower women.
You are now muted.
Thank you. We will now begin the the answer session. First, I'd like to thank all the participants. These were really interesting questions, and I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I can. And if you feel that you didn't get enough detail on some of the answers, absolutely, please feel free to write to us, and we'll provide a much more detailed response to you. So I'm going to start off with Ms. Jyoti Sanghai's question, which is the EBITDA margin has been dropping, and what are you doing to improve operating efficiency? And certainly we are cognizant of this problem that we have been facing. And as you can see, with that in mind, we had started off with a reduction in force and a VRP scheme. We started work on that all as early as November, and we implemented that in the first quarter of this year, and we're just starting to see the positive impact of some of those actions as of now. But that's not the only thing we're working on. We have what is called rings of defense, which means that every variable which is involved in cost, whether it be material cost, whether it be fixed cost, whether it be any form of variable cost in the form of how we are utilizing the plant, the depreciation schedule, the maintenance expenses that we have, every line item of cost is being looked at, and there are teams who are following a very structured process to try to cut down cost and keep improving the efficiency to improve the margins. So this is something certainly we get it. It's important to us as a business that we be top quartile provider of profits to our shareholders and to our employees. And there is a lot of focus effort going on through the rings of defense projects to be able to make those improvements. The next question was from Mr. Aspi Bamanshaw, who was talking about the Q1 revenue dropping. And you rightly mentioned that we worked only 1 month in that quarter. So pretty much what you see is a quicker recovery, but I would say recoveries are not 100%. I would say recoveries are closer, somewhere in the range of 60 to 80%, depending on which market segment and which business we are talking about. And it's going to take some time for all segments to come back. And so it is very important for us that while the market takes its own time to come back in different segments, that we continue to focus on costs so that we are able to deliver better profit margins. And certainly we do not make. I'll get to your next question, which is we don't make any products for 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers diesel engines. Those are very small engines, and it falls below the range of products which Cummins manufactures. The difference between mechanical and electronic engines is that the mechanical engines use a mechanical fuel pump, and they are based on complete mechanical controls, whereas the electronic fuel system, the electronic engines are full scope electronic engines, which means they have electronic fuel systems. They have a central processing unit by which we can control injection, timing, everything to a very, very precise level. So they are much, much more advanced than the mechanical engines, which allows us to, one is to get a better price for the product. Also, it enables us to meet much, much tighter emissions. And because the emissions are getting tighter, you cannot make the new emission requirement products by using old mechanical technology. So while that technology has been in existence for a very, very long time, and so has gotten more and more commoditized, as this technology goes towards electronic, it actually helps Cummins improve its market share as well as improve its profitability. So it has dual advantage as far as Cummins is concerned. So we have quite a strong order board with some pent-up demand, which we could not fulfill in nearly 2 months in the April and May timeframe, and for a few weeks in March. And we are very, very quickly catching up and fulfilling all the demand. And I would say by September or October, we would not have any backlog. So it would be whatever the demand the market is able to provide. And we do supply some products to metros, and we are looking to expand the range of what all we can supply to the rail business. Moving on to the next question from Ms. Vasudha Dakne. When was the last bonus given, and when will we do that again? Well, the last bonus was given in 2011. It was a 2:5 bonus. And I don't have a good answer for you on when we will do that again. When times are better, when business is much better, as per our dividend and shareholding policy, one could expect to see something again, but we don't have any clear timeline for that. You also wanted some clarity on the R&D expenditure. We spent a total of 190 crores on R&D in the last financial year. 145 crores out of that was for pure product development and research and development kind of expenses, and 45 crores was in other areas. The 145 crores is mainly to develop new products and also to keep making investments for the newer emission changes that are coming in, which I'll try to answer that in another question which is coming up. But there are three large emission changes for our product lines which are coming in. The first one is CPCB 4 Plus, which is expected to now come in somewhere in the 22 time frame. There is the CEV BS4, which is the on-road vehicular application emission change, which was supposed to come in October this year, but which has now got pushed out to July of next year. And then there is the tracked vehicle emission change, which was supposed to come out in 2020, but which is most likely going to get pushed out by roughly a year or so. Going to the next question. Yeah, Mr. Shashi from Sashikant Marathe. Mr. Marathe asked a whole bunch of questions and also gave us a lot of advice. Thank you for that advice, and we'll be sure to take some of those thoughts and ideas into consideration as we plan the business. So some of the questions which I'll address goes all the way from how many man days were lost, roughly about I would say roughly about 65 man days were lost during this process. And because even as we came and started ramping up, it was not a 100% ramp up from day one. It was a gradual ramp up spread over nearly 2 or 3 months. And so, it's pretty complicated to calculate how many man days you have really lost when you are gradually ramping up. But I would say from a business impact perspective, if you could round up, it would be roughly 3 months worth of real business impact, I would say, is what has been the real impact on the company. The plan for recovering orders is very aggressive. People are now working online. All the factories are up and working. So all the offices and the tech centers and everything associated with the factories have all come back online and are working. They are at roughly the 70 to 80% level of utilization on average right now. and all the other people who usually work in office buildings. We are not working office buildings yet. We want to control the number of access points and the number of people who are exposed, and so those people are all working out of home. Our distribution and service people continue to go out and meet customers, etc. And we are aggressively canvassing for more work with all the customers to try to recover business. We are also looking at some opportunities where some of our competition is struggling with some newer technology investments, etc., where we can improve our market share, and we're trying for some of those opportunities as well. So we want to use this COVID situation to come back a little bit stronger. There's a question on China emission norms, and what I would say is China emission norms are on par with India. There are a few areas where now, after the implementation of CPCB 4+, where India will move ahead of China. On the on-highway space, they are pretty much on par with India. There's a question on NPS and on which year we will achieve 90% NPS, and I can't exactly predict when something that will happen, but certainly the efforts continue to keep working towards higher and higher NPS scores. And well, not really. The score is a consequence of providing good service and support. So our focus is going to continue to be to provide good products, good service and support, and scores will be a resultant, and they will continue to improve. Okay, there is another question from you on the VRS, and there's a question on how many people were impacted there. About 141 CIL people were eligible, and out of about 750 people who were eligible, about 140 people have taken the VRS in the last cycle. And there was another question of what is the average age group of our employees. We have about 3,000, close to 3,500 employees, and the average age is between 32 and 38, somewhere in that range. Yeah, I'll move on to the next questioner, Mr. Dipankar Purkayas, who had again quite a few questions. One of his questions was about the yield from real estate investments, and his view of that. Why is a manufacturing company investing in real estate assets? And actually, the intention was never to get into real estate asset. This is a consequence of attempting to grow at a very rapid rate. So it was felt at a certain time, 10 or 12 years ago, that India GDP will continue to grow at a 10 or 12% growth rate. And so we had this concept of build capacity before demand. And so a whole bunch of investment activity took place at that time from CIL. And I want to disagree a little bit with you on what the yield numbers actually are, because you're not yet seeing the full picture of the yield. Our folks tell me that we have better than 7% yield on these real estate investments, which is better than the yield we are getting from the fixed deposits and bonds that we, as a conservative company, that we typically invest in. But certainly, your point is very well understood within the Cummins family, that our core business is engines and powertrain technology and not real estate. And certainly, if there comes a time when these assets are an impediment to our growth, we would be focusing on our technology and our product growth, and real estate assets, we would figure out a way to do something differently with them. So that's a pretty good point you have made. You talked a little bit about emissions timing, and I think I've answered that question earlier. So you had a question about the low horsepower business, about your feeling that we have been losing. It's not been growing very well, and is it because we are not competitive from a pricing perspective, and are we going to continue in this business? And I think I partially answered your question by talking a little bit about the technology roadmap. So what happens is, in the pure mechanical power generation market, the technology has not changed for 30 or 40 years. And so there are many other players who can make, who also make tractors, who also sell into the ag market. All of them use their surplus engines, and they compete with us in the low horsepower business. But as the emissions become tighter, as we move towards CPCB 4+, you can no longer sell into even the low horsepower market with just mechanical products. You have to go into it with electronic products and with after treatments, which then require all the technology which Cummins already has invested in, already has products ready and available. So we are not getting out of the low horsepower business. We intend to fight strongly in this low horsepower business, improve our profitability and grow our market share in this business. And many opportunities are opening up for us. We have seen this trend in other markets around the world, and we think this will play positively for us in India as well. And you had a comment about the CAGR of CIL being low, and you wanted some comparative data of TCL and CTIPL growth. I don't have those numbers with me, but if you send us an email, we will provide you some additional information on those. The last question I'll address today was from Mr. Dinesh, and Mr. Dinesh's question was, how can we do better after COVID? How are we planning on recovering in the marketplace? What segments are impacted most? And the answer to that question is, every time there has been a crisis, every time we have seen a very severe dip in the market, Cummins has always come out of it stronger, has benefited from that situation, because Cummins has already made significant investments, whereas others continue to need to make investments. For example, investment in CPCB4 technology. Cummins has already made significant investments in multiple parts. We just have to bring part of that technology to India and make much lower investments than what other folks will have to do to introduce those technologies. We also will use this opportunity to increase our share in the pie. We are already in discussions with many more partners and OEMs to work with them to introduce more products and grow our share of the pie. We are also looking at some opportunities beyond the organic growth methods there. And we continue to have a very strong balance sheet. So we continue to be able to borrow funds at rates lower than our competition. We continue to be able to pay our suppliers better. We've already made investments in all kinds of infrastructure and capital, as you have pointed out. And so we don't need to be making any new. So we can ride through these down cycles with lower capex investments, and that's what we are planning on doing. This COVID is, we are planning to come out of this COVID situation with stronger market share, better products, with more opportunities around the world. The next question was there was a question on receivables, especially from Africa. And yes, one of the answers there is that we have been able to collect a lot more receivables since the March timeframe. As you know, Cummins is a global company, and so there are people in 200 countries who work in not only in getting orders but also in collecting receivables, and many of those in many of those markets. The areas which are impacted most are some of the smaller countries in northern and central Africa. Those are the kinds of countries which have gotten impacted in this time frame. And certainly during a cycle where one is trying to protect as much cash as possible, one will not be putting in new money and selling to those markets during this time. But that was not the situation 6 or 9 months ago when sales were made to those markets, and there has been a lot of growing demand in many of those growing economies. Cummins has a good network to be able to collect money in many of those markets. As a matter of fact, you will see in our balance sheet that there are items of expense where Cummins India is actually spending money to pay for sales, marketing, and other efforts, including collecting money in some of those markets to be able to grow market share in those economies. The reason we focus so heavily on the exports business is it's a much higher margin business for us than the domestic low horsepower and some of those other markets which are, with the current range of technology, are very cutthroat kind of markets. So we continue to focus on exports, and we continue to believe that that's a great business for Cummins. And as far as the network is concerned, the Cummins network is just is getting stronger. The distribution business is bouncing back faster and better than the other parts of the business. They are looking at more opportunities. They are looking at expanding the growth in the aftermarket while demand from OEMs, etc., are weak. And when big capex spending does not happen, that is when the distribution business does even better, because people continue to come to us for service, for support, for spares, and that business then does even better. You wanted some data on which segments are impacted most after the June timeframe, and how that's working for the different markets that we play in. And I can say that the ones which are coming back the slowest. I'll start off with the industrial market, and within the industrial market, we have the sub-segments of rail, which is coming back slowly because most of our new equipment goes into passenger rail, and since trains are still not yet running, the government is slowing down purchases in those areas. So till that whole cycle recovers and comes back up, that segment is likely to be slightly slower than the kind of growth we have been seeing in the last couple of years. It's likely to be a little weaker, and then it will gradually ramp back up. There are many opportunities there, including opportunities for new technologies, but all of those will take time to implement and come back up. The mining market is started to recover pretty strongly. The marine market was subdued because of funds flow from the government, but now it looks like it's starting to recover and starting to come back. The compressor market is a highly cyclical market, and it had its peak last year. So this year was supposed to be a severe correction. The correction is not that bad because the rains are good this year, and when rains are good, people drill more bore wells, and then there is more central funding for drilling bore wells. So the compressor market is looking like it's reviving. And we also sell some products into the defense market segments, and the opportunities in those segments are opening up, though the gestation period for business in those segments are much longer than a 1 or 2 year cycle. As far as power generation is concerned, the areas which have bounced back or are growing very strongly are in the areas of data centers, in the areas of telecommunication, in the areas of small manufacturing, as well as some of the sectors like IT services, many of those sectors, farm-related processing, food processing, FMCGs, those kinds of market segments are bouncing back very strongly. What is bouncing back more slowly is heavy manufacturing, hospitality, hotels, all of those kinds of hospitals are also bouncing back pretty quickly. But some of the more capital intensive segments are those which are bouncing back a little more slowly. So that's how the segmentation recovery looks like as of today. Thank you all for listening to us patiently. Again, if you feel there are more questions you have, or there are some questions which were not adequately answered to your satisfaction, please feel free to write to us and we'll get back to you. Thank you. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Ashwath. Please note that additional questions received would be further answered by the company in due course through the appropriate mode of communication. As the company's management administrative rules of 2015 results have to be declared by the chairman or any other person authorized by the chairman in writing. Therefore, I am authorizing Ms. Vinaya Joshi, company secretary, to declare the results of the e-voting and upload the results on the company's websites along with the report of the scrutinizers at the earliest point. The same will also be available at the registered office of the company. The resolutions against the items 1 to 10 set forth in the notice shall be deemed to be passed today, subject to receipt of the requisite number of votes. I thank you all once again for attending the meeting. The proceedings have now been concluded. The voting through the intra-poll shall continue for the next 15 minutes. Accordingly, the meeting shall stand concluded post-voting ends. Thank you very much. Take care and stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Dear members, as instructed by the scrutinizer, I request all the members participating in the AGM and who have not cast their vote can cast their vote till next 15 minutes. Thank you.